Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Longbangers Thursday phone in association with Leeds Spirits. I'm Matty,
Hello, I'm Colin.
and we'll introduce the callers. Can you still call it callers when folk are like dialing in on Zoom? We'll probably go with it just because it's the easiest way to describe it. Tracy, you're up in my top left tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. Like, just was saying as we were about to start streaming, I just been rushing a bit like a dafty today. There's like so much stuff. But my daughter's 18 tomorrow, so happy birthday in advance to Sophie, who will fucking hate that I've said that on a public forum. But that's what you do when
Happy
you're a
birthday,
dad, isn't it?
Sophie. It's
Aye,
what
thank you.
parents are for, to embarrass their
Exactly.
kids.
So we had to go and pick up balloons, and I tell her, I said, they've given us them in the wrong order, so you have to be 81 them on for the big balloons. And she just looked at me like, shut up, kid, typical dad joke. John, how are you doing?
Doing fine. Looking forward to a chat, and I just wish John was here as well because it could be lonely.
Well, your wish is my command because somebody's just about to enter the call. So a good time, and I like your
Is
background
it
there as well.
is it everybody against the Johns, is it? Is
Is
that how
it
it's
John,
working?
John v. John?
Uh,
Could be. Jack, how are you doing? Welcome. This is your first time on the phone in.
Yeah, I'm doing good, aye.
Nice one. But you been up to much today?
Not much now. Just editing away. Not much else to say about that.
Decent. And you edit videos for your own channel. What's your channel called?
Jack C99.
Nice one. So folk can go and check it out. Nice one. We'll come back to you in a wee bit. Jack, James, how are you doing? You're on mute as well. So like a 5 point penalty for that. You get to 10 points and we have to kick you off the call.
we could do it in seconds or
Ah,
minutes. We could
Aye.
we could take minutes off what he's going to say.
Aye.
so get me timer, we card, hold up. My time's up. I'm doing fine. I've already said mute. It's just my computer's a bit slow. That's what I'm blaming anyway.
So I kind of feeling. And a nice green backdrop to you today. No Hearts curtains. We're all greened up, which is good. Green and white in the background. Quality.
Yeah. Been to the club shop, got them replaced, mate. It's all green.
Superb. Budgie, how you
How
doing?
we doing? Not bad, not bad. How we doing, boys and girls? Everybody well?
Smashing.
Excellent.
Aye. You look like you've got some of your background in colour and some in black and white. Is this a special filter you've got on there, or just the way the lights hitting it?
It's just the way the lights. You can't get any light in this room, mate, and it's the lamp there would cause havoc. So it'd be more of a hindrance than a help, to be honest.
Here, does
It's
what will happen is as it gets darker, you'll look like somebody that's on the news and they want to conceal their identity. You'll be a silhouette and it'll be. We'll get Jenny Adams to do your voice for you. John, how are you doing?
good. Aye, I was just about to say that McBee's got a monochromatic filter on for the dogs watching.
Aye, good shout. And we do get Doug's watching the podcast. Like we've had that feedback before. They do like it. I don't know why. It's I think it's because Colin lets off a high pitched noise that nobody else can hear, but Doug's hear it.
I'm doing it now.
Aye, it's mental. My dog's going crazy in the background. He's kind of hear it because of the Zoom filters and that. And Colin, are you good?
Aye, I'm good. Aye, just
Good.
watching the football. So
Right,
if I'm looking away, I'm watching the Villa game.
brilliant. And what's the score at the moment?
No.
Right, excellent. Right, who wants to start? We're going to talk about Montgomery. We're going to talk about Lewis and Paul and Joelle, and then anything else that you want to talk about. Like I said, that those were just kind of a guideline for starting points for us tonight. But anything else that you want to bring up, we're more than happy to do it. I tell you what, James, I'll come to you first, just because you're bang centre in the middle of my screen. What do you want to kick us off with?
Well, I'll go through a list. I'll be very quick on Monty. I think he's still in the stay category. I'm still want to back him because I think we need to stop this circle of changing every year. But I'm getting closer to the fence because travelling to Dingwall to see us get pumped again is no enjoyable.
It's good that you're still far enough away from the fence that you're talking about getting closer to it. I feel
Yeah.
that's a bit of a positive compared to a few others that might be in the room.
Mute him.
Time's up.
Well, what's been interesting, right? So we had the conversation on Sunday when we recorded, and John, you and I sort of disagreed. Colin, you think probably sided more with me than John.
That was the
Um,
old pals act, wasn't it? Like I'm just the interloper,
Aye.
ganging up on me.
And then, sort of in the immediate aftermath, everybody was sort of shouting you down, John. But as the days have gone on, there's been a sort of a swing the other way. So, what would you put that down to, John?
I think it's because I'm hard to like straight away, but then people get used to me.
Who said to get
I
used to
mean,
you?
Mike B will testify to that. It's been 20 years and he's only just coming round. Tolerates me. I don't know. I think I did actually make another joke that it was non-subscribers when they listened to me finally went, actually, that guy's right. I don't know. I don't know if as the days have progressed and like the immediate aftermath of the Ross County game was just everyone was kind of, or you got the impression that everyone was jumping up and down and going daft because we'd been beat. And I wonder if maybe in the sort of the cold lighty day and as time went on, folk maybe started to reflect a little bit more. It's hard for me to say because like I feel like I've been in this, Colin would call it entrenched, but I feel like I have to be almost entrenched, but with good reason, because like we had an extra time episode quite a few months ago now where I kind of laid out the number of managers that we've gone through, and then you had a subsequent episode talking about how we hadn't improved in the 5 years despite the managerial changes. So if managerial changes don't improve things, why would you keep changing managers? And also on the back of your Observer article the other day where you talked about the club throwing mud at the wall and hoping that it stuck. It resonated with me a little bit because I've been thinking along the same way the day before, but it feels like the solution is only ever the solution is only ever to appoint a new manager and hope that that's going to resolve everything. But again, appointing a new manager has just never resolved everything. So if it's not the manager, then there's something else wrong. It can't be that we just keep appointing the wrong manager. And I don't know if maybe that's potentially a realization or a consideration that some of our listeners have started to have.
James, what is it about Monty that you're sort of still on the stay side?
I think the recruitment in January, we got a couple of decent players. Okay, we're going to lose them at the end of the year. There's no way we're holding on to my leader. Marconda's in some flashes is decent. Mariah Welsh. I mean, these are all players who are bought on an emergency. January is always an emergency window. If that's the kind of caliber players that he and this team could bring in, then we probably need about 8 players come this window. But if that's the quality we're going to get, then we would have to just rip it all up again and spend maybe £1 million getting rid of somebody and another £500,000 to get somebody else in. It's save the money, give the guy a chance. I mean, if he screws up by Christmas, then I'll hold my hand up and go, I was wrong. Because it's not costing me much money, but I think if that's the players we're getting in, I think we've got a good chance of a decent team next year. We'll have to because nobody left.
It's true. Was anybody on the call in the Go camp on Sunday and Monday that's now moved over to the Stay camp? No. Okay. Right. This is good. Right. Jason, where do you stand on it?
I'm on the fence. I was very much, he needs to stay. I do think there's bigger problems than Monty. I think it's a whole club thing. I think there's a lot of people at the club that don't get the club. I was listening to his interview today, well, only seen part of it. I was quite disappointed in it because it kind of felt like, oh, well, Paul and Lewis are away, when players come in, we'll tell them what the club means, but he's only been here a short space of time, so what's he telling them? Kind of thing. And I know Joe and Cads are great ambassadors for the club as well, and I know that they will carry that on. Joe's both of them are very big into the history of the club and what the club means and everything, so I know that we've got good guys in them as well, but yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm so kind of disconnected from the club as well. I'm now at the stage where, The only thing is, we could keep him.
Mhm.
We get a few games into the season. It's no working. That small majority that make all the noise on social media, the ones that always get listened to, then we'll sack him. And then there'll be another manager who's got to wait till January to get a transfer window because it might not be players that he wants to have. Then everybody will say, oh, we'll just best give him to the summer because then he needs another transfer. And we're just back on that. But the way we can sack him, then we get another new manager. If it doesn't work quickly, it's just, I just don't know where we go. I think that I just feel the club's in a bit of disarray at the moment. And
Tracy,
it's not just Monty and the team that are the problem.
so I think that touches on a wee tweet that I'd sent yesterday about the Matty's Observer article. What do you think a Hibs manager needs to be successful at Hibs?
Man management, I think, is a must for any manager. If you've not got that,
not just personal qualities, by the way, but I mean like the whole like personal qualities and backing at the club.
you know, I don't even mind like bringing in fresh coaches that haven't really had that much experience. I don't actually mind that. You know, I know a lot of people moaned about Sean, but I actually I liked Sean. And I think you got glimpses of what he was trying to do, but I don't think he had the squad to do what he wanted to do, kind of thing. So I don't mind if they've not got a whole load of experience. It doesn't even bother me if they know the Scottish game. I know that's something that everybody seems to want to have, and some people are hooked on McInnes, but folk will get bored of that football. I just want somebody to come in and give us that exciting football that we feel as Hibs supporters we should be having. You know, you don't mind losing if there's a good performance there and it's been quite exciting football. But man management's a big one. If you've not got that, then you shouldn't be anywhere near a football club. I want somebody that's got their own personality, that's not a yes man, and can stick up for themselves. With the board and that as well. And they've got to make that job their own. They've got to bring in good people with them. And I do like who Monty's brought in as well. But I just think the club's in just disarray at the moment. It's more than just a managerial thing.
We've got Dan Taylor on the YouTube comments said, spot on, Tracy. People massively understate just how important it is to have people that get it. James, you get your hand up. I'll get that. We'll come to you, and then I'm going to bring other John in to get his point of view.
Yeah, sorry, I know I've had my time already, but just to expand on John's question, would people accept boring, shite football but win at all costs, or free-flowing attacking football with the odd hiccup? I mean, Hibs have got a way. It's always been the Hibs way, and it's great football to watch. But are we now at a stage where it's win at all costs?
I think folk take the wins. Like, the wins at all costs are fine so long as you're winning. It's when it goes wrong. That's what happened with, like, if you look at McInnes, who's everybody's right, but a lot of folk are tipping McInnes for the job if and when Montgomery goes. McInnes' time at Aberdeen came to an end when they got sick of the way that he was playing and he stopped winning the games. None of them were complaining when he was winning, though. Like, they all took it. And I think that's the thing with that style of football, is it is fine when you're winning. And they'll have, like, Aberdeen did play some good football under McInnes as well. It wasn't like they were shite to watch all the time. They just dug it out sometimes and got over the line. And I think with Hibs are the same. I think, like, if we've got a manager that gets wins, we're all happy, aren't we? Like, if you win on a Saturday, that generally is enough for us to get it. It's when that stops happening. And everybody talks about Jack Ross as being the example of folk not being happy about us getting winning football that isn't necessarily spectacular. But when Jack Ross got sacked, we were on a shite run. Like, he never got sacked for finishing third and getting to semi-finals. He got sacked because we were on a 9-game run without a win or something like that, and we just lost to Livingston, and that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back with folk. So
I think that spell is important because we talked about it on Longbangers, and you're right. Like Ross wasn't sacked for being third, but another point that we talked about was that was Ross's card almost marked to that point. Like you had boring football and we finished third. So if we have a shite run, that's it.
Yeah.
It's no good. And that's the shite run after that good spell was fucking brutal in terms of him getting sacked. Like understandable because he had a 9-game losing streak. But he was like, that's another thing with regards to the time. Like how long does someone get to turn it around? Is 9 games too short or is 9 games enough? And I think it's been acknowledged by the club since then that they made a mistake in sacking him. But how do you stop making that mistake going forward? Like it seems to be like, well, we had that 9-game run and that wasn't good enough. So managers then get a really short spell to get it right.
See the challenge on that point, John. Had Sean Maloney come in and absolutely took off, like if Maloney come in and been a huge success, do you think that Ron Gordon or anybody would have gone back and said, I think we sacked Jack Ross too early?
So are you saying then that the board made those comments on the back of Maloney's run and they weren't telling the truth with regards to Ross's sacking?
No, I don't think they were. I don't think they were. They were not telling the truth. But I think it's an opinion, isn't it? Right. But I think what informs your opinion is what you've experienced. And when they made that comment, things weren't going great on the pitch, and it looked like we were no better off having sacked Jack Ross than to go to Sean Maloney. In fact, we got a bit worse. So it's with that experience, it's easy to get the opinion and say it might have been a mistake. But had we been sitting second in the league, first in the league, whatever, they're not going to go, we came up, we did the wrong thing. They'd not be giving each other a pat on the back for having done the right thing and taken action and got a better manager in.
Aye, but Maloney didn't start winning games instantly.
No, of course he didn't, right? So
he did actually win a couple of games right away.
Aye,
everybody thought it was the second coming. And then we had the winter break.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, he didn't sustain that early success, and he left after, what was it, 4 months that he had in charge.
Mhm.
And what I'm trying to understand is how much of that 9-game run of Jack Ross's has influenced future decisions by the club to go out.
Aye, fair. But I think the 9-game run and then sacking Sean Maloney so early gave Lee Johnson longer than he might have got. And it's definitely, I think, that compounds it with Montgomery, who I think is definitely still in a job now because of the perceived mistakes with what happened with the last few managers. Tracy, you got your hand up. I'll take you in. And John, I promise I will bring you in.
Yeah, no, I will just be quickly sorry because I know I blather on, I ramble, typical woman. But no, what I was just going to say, it is important as well to kind of note that the environment that Jack created was out of this world. And like when he left, it was like somebody had actually died in the place because that's how much kind of respect he had from staff. And that was just creating that environment as well. And I just think maybe if he'd been given, I think as you've been given the semi-final, and I do think maybe he would have turned it around eventually. But yeah, so I think as well, that environment as well, that's like a huge thing because people have to enjoy where they're working as well and all be in it together. And I felt when he was there, everybody really was in it together.
What was the environment like following Ross during Maloney and Lee Johnson? Like, did the morale spirit at Hibs improve afterwards? Was there any improvement through those managers?
I think whoever came in after Jack always was going to have a tough time just creating something because Jack had obviously created a really good environment. I really liked Sean. I felt Sean had standards as well, but I think that just comes from being at Celtic and that as well. The other one I would
still
rather
our most listened to podcast is the Sean Maloney episode.
Oh, really?
Is it?
Aye, went viral. Like
Wow.
thousands of listens.
The other one I would rather not comment on.
Aye, fair enough. Right, John, I'm going to come to you now. John, where do you stand on it all?
I stand and that it's the wrong thing to making the decision. If they were going to make the decision, they made it when they made that statement a couple of weeks ago. When I look at the situation we're in, though, I think we have to look over the whole period. And I mean, the past couple of years has been quite tumultuous for the club and for those involved in running it. The death of Ron last year will clearly have impacted on the family, you know what I mean? And things that were done around about that side of it. So you have to have that emotional intelligence. We have expanded as a club in terms of, I think we now take some responsibility around the community foundation and all the work that's done within the stadium. We've absorbed the women's team. We're putting in safe standing. We have multiple projects updating hospitality. We have a huge project putting in screens. We'll have all the work that goes on an annual basis just in terms of marketing, sponsors. So it feels to me as if we have done lots and lots of stuff. And the one thing that we only seemed to start concentrating on last year with McDermott's appointment was the football team. Because if you look at the transfer windows in particular before that, they were quite weak. They were the money ball. We'll bring Wilkerson in, and okay, he paid off because they got a transfer fee at the end, but Bojang didn't. I mean, last January we were signing Jago. This January we're bringing in my leader. So there's changes that seem to have come out about just when McDermott coming in May of last year. We've then decided that Lee Johnson wasn't the man, and again, he gave us good results in Europe. Couldn't beat Livingston at home and lost the first league games, and therefore he lost his job. I don't know who the other four were on the list that Hibs had, but we went looking for Nick Montgomery.
Yeah.
We decided that he was the fit for the club. My worry is that one, that's what Napoleon used to say, that you need to have a lucky general. I think that he hasn't carried luck. He's had players who have made individual errors at crucial times. He's had referees who have made bizarre decisions that have gone against him. And the one criticism I would lay at his door is that there is a bit of a culture there that needs to be brought in, that the game finishes when you're in the dressing room. When we look at sort of the goals lost at Ross County, again, Josh didn't do the tracking at Ross. Was it the Motherwell game or no? I think might have been the Ross County game. Was again, I mean, he got tracked to the back post for the ball getting cut across. So we do make mistakes because we have players on the edge of the area waiting to counter attack because of how we're trying to play. So in all of that, we've set out a plan. I don't believe that we have done enough to resolve centre defence and goalie and just be secure in the spine of the team. We let Dodge go in January, so when it comes to playing out from the back, he got the goal that we give away from the goalie on Saturday from Wallacott. He can't punt the ball up because whether it's Lafondra or Venti that's up there, they're not winning the header. And now Alpha's good in the air, but if you've got Dodge up there, he may have gone straight up the pitch. So there's an imbalance in the squad that he's got because we're probably the only team in the Premiership that doesn't have a good big year up the top of the field. We've no young players coming through that could do that. Josh Landers looks just a bit raw at the moment in terms of trying to come in to fulfil that. So a combination of we have a plan that we're trying to bring forward, but I don't think that we put the squad in around about the manager we chose to play. Now, the one caveat I'll put in is that the Black Knights review, now I'm disappointed that it's taken till now for that review. Now, whether it's simply the idea that it's expanding, they've done the review in the background and they're now they've actually talked to the people it's going to impact. And that's what's happening within the club because they know what the answers are. We're just going to give the idea that they'll let people say what they think. If they come out and say, actually, you're not a good fit, we already have this ready-made manager. I've seen the Hull City manager's names flying around, but I don't know anything about him. If they have a ready-made fit, they have a recruitment plan in place for the summer, that manager will fit straight into fine. My concern is that should have been done when the statement went out. Giving the club and the fans a chance to change our thinking. I mentioned in the tweet the other day, there's a vacuum being created by the club saying that there's a review ongoing. We don't know what centre backs were offered in January. We don't know how good or otherwise Bevan is the boy that had to go back to Bournemouth. There's clearly contradicting views coming in terms of who we were offered in January, in terms of the message boards and other areas. But the truth is, we didn't bring in 2 centre back, and Hanlon, Harbottle, Bushiri, and Fish was not the 4 that we should have been running the season with. I mean, I had a look back, and I think Adam Jackson is probably the last experienced centre back that we recruited.
Nice.
Now, we have really good players in different parts of the pitch, but we have been crying out. So he's not been given that pairing, but the way he plays, he's going to be a specific type of player, a specific type of goalie to do it, and he's not had the tools yet, and we're not getting relegated.
Okay. I'll get a couple of comments for YouTube. Nicho87 said, so at what point would John think enough is enough with Monty if we go with the theory of sticking by a manager? I think that was Longbangers, John, but either John can answer that one. How long would you give him if you're saying stick by him? When does it become time up?
When someone can give me an answer why all of these managers continually fail. Is it because they're bad managers, or is it because the infrastructure around them is failing?
An answer or just relegation? Like, because surely relegation would definitely have to be a tipping point, but it might even come before that, would it not? Surely. Like, you're not going to say if we get relegated, stick by him, because I still don't know the answer to why the managers keep failing.
This is where I entrench myself. Yes.
Oh, John. This is where
But
there'll be somebody
no one can answer the
switching
question.
off. Somebody will be unfollowing us for Twitter right now, John.
Can someone answer me the question why we keep appointing poor managers or why we keep appointing good managers that fail? Because I don't understand.
Hopefully the review will be able to sort that out, yeah. Because the review should be looking at the whole thing.
Ask me the question again when the review's complete, and we'll see if I've changed my tune.
That review might come out and say the manager's getting sacked.
Fine, and I think John touched on that there. Like, this is less about a Nick Montgomery thing and more about why does it keep going wrong?
I like how
why are we not improving?
I like how we would have another John, and that's stuck now. So, other John,
change his name on the screen.
How long would you give it?
We've been at Stirling under Heckenbottom and Falkirk under Johnson. If he puts a team out that shows so little spirit and treats a League Cup as a friendly, then he would be in trouble from that point. And that's why I think that it's really crucial we should have made the decision 5 weeks ago. What would I give him? He needs this summer to put a convincing team on the pitch. I don't see this being a one window. The fact that Paul's moving on means that there's lots of decisions to be made at centre half. If we retain Bushiri, who has 1 year left on his contract, arguably this is always a point to sell and cash in. If they extend that contract and keep him, then what's round about? We have to build something in there that starts the season well. He's got to be easily pushing into the top 6 next season. It shouldn't be about the idea that it's unlucky goals lost at the last minute. The 12 points that he talks about having shipped this season, he doesn't ship next season. If we're sitting bottom 6, this time next year he goes.
Fair enough. Jack, thank you for sort of sitting patiently there. Where do you stand on it all?
I don't know where to start. I mean, Nick Montgomery, like you says, there's times where he's out of his depth, but coming up for the summer, I don't know where to start. Build for the back. There's too much to talk about on it. It's like I'm just lost for words at the minute. What's going on at the club? Don't know what to say.
Well, you've come to the right place, Jack.
Well, what have you made of Monty's time, Jack? Like, are you in favour of him, or would you rather see him replaced?
I was confident about Montgomery, but now it's starting to get to the stage where he's had 7 months, nothing's changed. We're in the bottom 6. It's getting to the worry stages now. And with Hanlon and Stevenson leaving, it's going to be hard to see what happens in the summer because they're not going to be easy to replace. Not long servants. and there's no been any other club in Britain that's had loyal players like them.
What would be your priority in the summer for him? Like if you were going to help him to succeed, what tools would you give him in the summer to help him?
Bring in a commanding centre back, someone with experience, because our defence has been a shambles for a while, and we need to build on that in the summer. And with Alex Borwick coming back for loan, maybe give him a chance in goals, because in my opinion, Jojo Willicott's not ready to play in goals yet.
Not ready, or
I don't think he needs to work on a few things. He's made a few mistakes as well, so he needs to work on that before he's number one goalkeeper, in my opinion. So I'd bring in an experienced goalkeeper in the summer, maybe.
You mentioned experience a few times there. Hibs' model recently has been to sort of buy young, isn't it? Do you think experience is an important factor, Jack?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, a lot of teams need that experience to guide the team on, and just if you've not got the experience in the team, it's just going to crumble.
There it is. Andrew, evening. Actually, before we just saw a comment come in there for Dave Graham. Monty forever, 4 more years. He says, David Young says you need a strong board. John McGlynn said I can handle seeing us get beat when it's a case of they were the better team on the day, but what's pissing me off is seeing us get gubbed because we're giving games away too many times recently. Andrew, where are you? Monty in, Monty out, or on the fence?
John mentioned earlier, it's taken me 20 years this week to finally be Team John, to be honest. Listen, I'm at the point now where you've just got to look forward, right? You can do the dance of he's had mitigating circumstances to, provide himself an excuse for how this has went this season, right? And then you can counterclaim that with decisions, team selections, formations, all this kind of stuff, right? Like, and it's just a merry-go-round arguments that you didn't get any clear winner at, right? So for me, I'm at the point now of going, right, well, what's coming forward? We've clearly got a massive squad overhaul incoming, right? We're clearly looking at what we're doing on the football operations sides. We're already, some way down the road at looking at a technical director. Now, Hibs have to get the comms on this, right, as to what this guy's brief actually is, right?
Yes.
What is he there to do? What is he there to support? What is he there to implement? Because I think I mentioned it in the group chat, like last year we were all wax lyrical about Brian McDermott coming in. And then I watched back his interview, and in fairness, you boys did mention at the time, it was clear as mud actually what he was coming in to actually be. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting and saying, oh, it's going to be a watching brief. Nah, come on in, smash some plates. Like, let's actually do something. And I think that's what's massively lacking here at this point. Nobody really seems to be taking the bull by the horns. The guy in charge of now, I think, certainly in the last couple of weeks, up until maybe last week, I thought he's definitely looking tense. After St Johnstone, it's probably about the most relaxed he's seemed to me in the press. But then he goes and gets beat again, right? So it all starts again, right? So this sort of cycle of, pressure, it keeps building. He gets a relief, and then it starts again. So for me, what's done is done. It's under the bridge, but it's massive. What happens in the next 8 weeks is massive for us as a club. Recruitment has got to be right. They've got to be clear on what it is they want, win the squad, what the strategy is, what type of profile of player. They clearly are going to have money to spend, so didn't squander it, be smart with it. So, honestly, mate, who knows what we look like, because he has to, I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, he has to get momentum in the League Cup. If he doesn't get off to a great start, we're bang in trouble again, and you might as well be writing off the season again.
It's a grim prospect, isn't it? But how much faith have you got in this rebuild, based on what we've seen for the folk running the club so far?
so it comes back to, it comes back to the, what made the club a success, like, right, so, and what was that, what ethos was it, what people were in place, what culture was there, and how can you replicate it, right? That's what I'd be looking, right? Because clearly, you mentioned it there, right? There's clearly a point of failure where Jack Ross was exited, right? And the circumstance when he was exited, like Tracy's talking about, it was like a death in the family, right? So how do you kind of recover for that? If he'd been exited because he was going on elsewhere, how much more receptive are people to the new guy coming in, shake their hand and go, right, well, but instead that didn't happen. Then we compounded it and compounded it again. So, like, as I say, take a complete another step back. Look at the last point you had success and go, right, what was there in place at that time? How can we replicate it? Get ourselves to a position of strength. Like, and if you do want to do these things, such as, try and bring in development players to punt them on, then you do it 1-2 a window at a time. Like, you can't bombard the squad with it. Otherwise, you're sitting 18 players out on loan. I mean, how does that happen? Like, that just headline itself tells you that there's no control whatsoever about what is going on down at the football operations side. Like, it's just a mess, frankly.
Well, we got to that development team. That was the strategy, wasn't it? And then never got them any games, so we ended up having to put them on loan. Like, they barely played a match.
And that's what I mean, Colin. Like, we had Steve Keane in, right? So where was the succession planning off the back of him to take it forward? Like, that's the other thing that's key to a business. Who's coming in behind you? Who's always coming in to maintain that culture, maintain that idea? If you're wholeheartedly believing that what you're doing is right, then that's what you do to maintain and continually build that success. And we just haven't had it. We just lurch from one idea to another, to another, to another. Look at the profile managers we've brought in.
Aye.
Like, honestly, when you start really looking at it, you go, what? Like, there's no consistency. So how can there be momentum? Like, how can players, from one day to the next, ken what it is that's expected of them, and that's even before you've even getting started with standard of officiating, injuries, tournaments. Like, we weren't even prepared for tournaments this year. Like, we knew these boys were going away, and we hadn't signed appropriate cover. We're bringing in 16-year-old laddies. Just what are we playing at?
Is that it's like the lack of a plan, and I totally agree with you. When you take a step back, like, all those things are stuff that's in our control or should be in our control. Like you say, the referees you can't do anything about. You can't do anything about the injuries or kind of the bad luck that you get in football. But all the stuff that you listed there is all stuff that we could have controlled. How we prepare for transfer windows, how we prepare for tournaments, for folk going away. The profile of the manager. I mentioned that in my Observer article. When you look at what the profile of Jack Ross was completely different to Sean Maloney, who was completely different to Lee Johnson, who was completely different to Nick Montgomery. So what are we actually fucking looking for here? Like, in who's deciding it, and then who's going and picking the managers to fit? It doesn't give you any confidence that we care what we're doing. Tracy, I think you had your hand up first. I'll come to you, and then other John, I'll come to you.
Yeah, just really a question for everyone about Black Knight Football Club and how confident they are with the review. Obviously, they've only been in football since December 2022, taken over Bournemouth. They have improved. They're up at 10th, but they changed their manager. FC Lorient, or whatever you call them, my French isn't very good. I really need to brush up on that. But they've kept the same manager. He kind of worked his way up the ranks through the kind of working with under 18s and things. And now they're close to, they're in the relegation zone. Ultimately, they're businessmen before football people. So what is everybody confident? I mean, I don't know who else is involved with them. Are they going to bring people for Bournemouth and SC Lorient to kind of help with this review? How's that getting looked at? So that's my kind of question for everybody, and how confident they are and how they're going to help with this review.
Does everyone come in with an answer?
listen, I agree with you, Tracy. Like, what's the body of work behind it? Like, everybody looks at Bournemouth over the last 18 months. I think you can see a measurable improvement, especially with the decision to exit the guy that's now at Wolves, isn't he? The lad that's in charge there. So listen, there's clearly a philosophy there. I've watched a couple of the interviews, one where Foley's been down at the training centre they're developing. So clearly, like, they're putting their money where their mouth is. It's just exactly what you say. Like, how do you know, like, the expertise that's within that group, and what it is that they're actually adding, or are they leveraging what was already there when the Bournemouth set up as well? So I'm not educated enough on it. That's where I am.
I think for sorry, other John, I will come to you in a minute. I'll answer. I'll give my tuppence worth on it. Where I have confidence is what they did with the hockey team, but also if you dig a bit deeper into the Black Knight and you see who's backing them as well, there's like serious players in the world of sport that are involved with it. And I think what they do is pretty much what you recommended Hibs do, Andrew, which was to work out the formula for success and then replicate it. And I think that's what they're looking to do with the review. I think Lorient, and I've tried to kind of go do some digging to see to what extent Black Knight have had an influence in there. So they're a minority shareholder. They have signed players and moved them and taken them from Bournemouth to Lorient. Either way, but in terms of like the decision making at the club, there's nothing I can see to say that they've sort of taken over and insisted it's done this way or that way. Lorient weren't a great team before they went in. I don't think they've improved any. I think they've got worse either, like based on what I've been able to research. But it doesn't look like they've gone in and fucked it up. Is probably what I'm trying to say. I think they were quite capable of fucking it up on their own without Black Knight's involvement. Like other John, and you come.
I think that I would go with what Andy's saying about Black Knights chose Bournemouth as a team that were on the up, who were doing well, who got themselves into the Premiership, and they're building on that model. That's why I left the opening to say, if they come in and look at Hibs and they come up with a plan that's completely different to what Hibs currently have on the table and they're ready to go, then that would be the change around about manager at that point. My worry is the lack of knowledge. I mean, we don't know at the moment, and that's why we're able to have the chat about it. The sporting director, I was listening to what's his name, David Moyes today, talking about Klopp at Liverpool, and describing him as the man who has control over the whole of the club, sets the standards, and gets into everything. I accept that that's not the person that we're bringing in, and I accept that the manager at Hibs isn't going to have that side. But I got the impression that when George Craig came in, and I never met, never saw it, that we had somebody in the background there who was setting standards and setting clear directions round about the footballing side. I forget his name, he's now Ayr United. We had that as well. No, I mean, so we've had people in the background who have had a clear direction. We've had owners who've come and tried a couple of versions. The play would be just get rid of the vacuum, don't just wait till the end of the season, get something out more quickly to give people an understanding of what's going to go around. Because 8 weeks' time we'll be kicking off in the League Cup against somebody who just wants to kick our ass.
Okay, right. Let's move the conversation on. We'll talk about Lewis and Paul. In fact, before I do that, Colin, we've not really heard your perspective on this tonight. Where do you stand on the whole Monty In, Monty Out now?
So you know what, the one thing I get the argument about the cycle, and I've said it plenty of times. We keep going around the cycle, so that's why I think something else needs to change, and maybe some kind of strategy, like you said it there, right, about scattergun sort of approach to what kind of manager we want, development team. What was that for? You know, like what are we actually trying to? How are we going to try and do this? What is your model? All that kind of stuff. But what's been missed is he's had 33 30 odd games in charge, and they never improved anything. Anything. That team was 5th last year, had one of the best European results in ages, and should have probably got 4th last season.
Yeah.
And they went downhill. And actually, what we needed was a manager to come in and make the players he had better, and he didn't. So that's what's a big black mark for me. They just got worse. And we're now talking about major refits of squads, binning everybody, starting again. You think, at the start of the season, when we sacked Johnson, we were almost like, we've got a decent squad here, we just need somebody to make them better and get them, bring a bit of consistency to selection, like not be an arsehole, all the kind of things.
Aye.
And we got worse. So I think that's a big black mark for him.
There was a quote in the Evening News that caught my eye, which was that Monty came in and inherited an absolute mess, or something like that. And I was like, I'm not sure that's the case. It's like gaslighting, isn't it? Like Monty talks about kind of joining midway through the season, and although, like,
we played loads of games, but we're 3 league games in.
Three league games in. It's not like he's come in December just before the January window or whatever. It's like, and even back to how much. Like, what was the expectation of how long it would take to get him to get it right when he came in? It wasn't like, we're going to bring this boy in, give him, don't worry about this season, we'll write it off, he'll get better for next season.
And do you know something else? To take Tracy's point about when Jack Ross went, and it was like a death and all that, and everybody was down. Because I remember Martin Boyle talking about Jack Ross after he left and stuff. I'm sure everybody was quite happy when Johnson left. So, like, it wasn't like they were in that mourning period when he went. So, like, how did we not get better? I think we've won 2 games in a row this season. Read that somewhere. No, check.
We've done it once.
Might be wrong.
I think we've done it once. Right, let's move on to Lewis and Paul. So, club announced on Tuesday. What day were on the day? Thursday. It was Tuesday, wasn't it? Just in the middle of the afternoon, just to catch us all unawares when we are deeply engrossed in our day jobs. And the wee Twitter notification comes up to say Hibs have tweeted, and you have a look, and Paul and Lewis are away. Jack, we'll come to you. What was your reaction when you heard that Paul and Lewis's time had officially come to an end at the club?
At first I was shocked, but then you see the service they've brought at Hibernian SC, the CIS Insurance Cup, and then Scottish Cup. They've brought a lot to the club, and they're true gentlemen players. Met them a few times, and I thank them for their service. They've really done a lot for Hibs, and it's just great what they've offered. And Lewis Stevenson being the only Hibs player with a Scottish League Cup winners medal and Scottish Cup winners medal, you can see what he's achieved, and wherever they end up next season, it's just, you wish them luck where they go.
Well, I suppose aside from the obvious with the cups, what were your sort of personal highlights of Paul and Lewis?
I'd say Lewis Stevenson. I liked the goal that he scored at Rangers, the celebration. I liked that one. And then Paul Hanlon's was the equaliser against Hearts. That had to be my memorable goals.
And a wee reminder of that behind Other John there.
Yeah.
Up in the wallpaper. James, how about you? What was your reaction when you heard the news?
Mixed. I mean, it's been coming. And at least I'll get people off his back, because I'm sick listening to people putting these 2 servants down, because it's all you ever hear. Stevenson, this, always a mistake, and Hanlon. It's just like, you're a bit fed up defending them, even though it comes to them all. They're getting old, they have to move on, we need better, but you can't forget what they've done for the club. There was a school of thought that they should have been offered a role of some description at the club to kind of keep them there. Would you like to have seen that, or do you think just a clean break is the right way to do it? If we're going to move to another club, let them have their clean break. But I do think there's maybe a good shout for ambassador roles. I mean, we see that at some of the bigger clubs down south have got these ambassadors that show up all over the place and do things. When you've got the Hanlon Stevenson Foundation, which is green and white and basically looks like Hibs through and through. So I would like to still keep that connection, keep them going, and either bring them in as ambassadors either for the club or for that foundation, and still have some sort of connection with the club. We just got a comment come through on YouTube there from Mark McKenzie. Said, any concerns about who has made this decision to let Hanlon and Stevenson leave? James, do you think that was anybody's decision other than Montgomery's? Oh, well, thanks for putting me on the spot.
Okay.
Stevenson, I think Obita's probably forced him out, unfortunately. Obita's been different class. Maybe Stevenson's realised himself. In his own mind, I can't compete with that. The boy is different class. He's young. My time's come. I want to maybe, if I've got another year, I want to play football. I don't want to. I don't think they want to sit on the bench for another year. So yeah, I think it's probably Montgomery said, "Don't want this lot. This is my list. These are all gone." It's good that they get the recognition, whereas Alf's is kind of been brushed under the carpet. He's leaving as well. It was just he's gone on the BBC tweet somewhere, and I don't think they'll be the last of a few more saying they're gone, they're gone. I'm just glad that Hanlon and Stevenson get the recognition, and I think I said in the first phone in on this, I do hope they get to the 600, and it's plainly obvious they're doing it, which is cool, but it feels like tokenism at the same time, which is a bit bad to say, considering I said it was he must get it.
The thing is, if and when Stevenson tips over the 600, I think he might even go beyond that if he plays, the remaining games. It would only be one or two of them that would have been tokenism, wouldn't it? Like out of that whole body of work,
600.
He's earned the right to I think. Other John, what are your thoughts about it all?
I think that it's probably important to sort of bring the three players. 1,600 appearances for the Hibs. All three of them, including Joelle, have won the Scottish Cup. I think she has more Scottish Cup medals than the other two.
Yes, she does.
I mean, great ambassadors for the club. Joelle, as a Hibs player, has walked out at Easter Road for the Champions League tune when Hibs played Bayern Munich at Easter Road. I mean, I think that we sometimes forget the history of sort of the women's team and the achievements that they've had over the past 25 years. In terms of, we've got all the volleys from Louis at Ibrox and such, but I went to the development game against Livingston the other week out at East Mains. Both Louis and Paul were playing, and again, your respect comes from them because you use their first names rather than their surnames when you start speaking about them. Paul's talking, I think it was Blaney through the game. And I mean, you can hear him because you're at the side of the pitch. Stevenson, it's up against Livingston, who were kicking Jair to bits. Louis put in a few heavy tackles as well on the guys who were putting the heavy tackles in on Jair. It was just brilliant to see two real professionals with the young players. You know what I mean? And you're just a bit jealous of the youngsters that they got to share a pitch with them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're honest, but that's clearly the commitment level that they've had all the way through. And I'm just gutted that he got injured under Butcher because I think he would have saved us all.
Aye, I think you're right. Trace, I'm going to come to you last. You probably know them as well as anybody here, but Andrew, Lewis and Paul, what do you have to say about them? And just sorry, other John, we were going to talk about Joelle. I was going to give her a wee shout on her own, but we hadn't sort of airbrushed her out of the conversation. Right, Andrew, Lewis and Paul.
Well, both of them are responsible for some of the greatest memories and experiences I've ever seen. Hibs teams, the equaliser at Tiny. Honestly, I still watch videos of that every other week, to be honest with you.
Looking for John.
Aye, looking for John, aye. And I've been lucky over the last few years to actually, be slightly acquainted with Paul as well, with the wee man. And what an absolute gent of a guy he is. He'll never miss you. Sat last night for 5-10 minutes with him. And listen, it just, just a huge loss, because it's like a lad that, lives, breathes it, loves the club. And I do wonder whether this is a mistake at this moment in time. Lewis, maybe a little bit different kettle of fish, given his age, but I'd say looking at him, he's got something to contribute to somebody. So he's well within his rights to what he still be playing. So fair enough, but I mean, what a gap that's going to leave, not just, for us as a support, but you can around the building and all that as well. So, I mean, listen, best of luck to whatever comes next for both the lads.
And Tracy, last word to you on Lewis and Paul, and then we'll kind of focus on Joelle for a wee moment.
Yeah, gutted that they're leaving. I think it's just another thing that shows the club in kind of disarray, and I feel like heart and soul getting ripped out of the club. I think we should have a clear pathway for them. Instead of this 1-year contracts for Lewis, you know, we gave Dave and Daz 4-year contracts, which everybody went, "Whoa, what are you giving them 4-year contracts for?" But in that was playing, helping them with getting their badges, coaching, ambassadors for the club, and that's exactly what these two, money can't replace what they give you. You know, I've seen Paul as a captain as well, like what he does off the pitch as a captain and as a leader, and you know, totally. I think the first time I heard him swear, I was like, "Oh," and I was like, "You tell them." And just their families, like I feel the statement as well from the club, you know, there was nothing from the CEO, there was nothing from the manager in that statement, it was just from the Gordon family. You know, I suppose all three of them, they don't really know Paul and Lewis probably as well as us supporters, because we've lived through all the moments, the highs and the lows with them. I think they should have mentioned their families, because when you're onboarding a player to the club, you're onboarding their families, and the sacrifices they've made for both those guys and supported them throughout their careers. And they've been part of the Hibs family as well. So yeah, I ended up stopping work. I just did no more work on Tuesday. I was just totally devastated. Knew it was coming, but it's that way, you know, you were like, oh, it's real now.
Was that like when the Queen died for you?
I did feel sorry for the poor woman, but you know, it didn't have an effect on me.
We'll probably leave that one there. Other John, you get a hand up.
I'm not singing.
I don't know whether I'm alone. I thought the one shame I think with regards to Louis and Paul leaving is I think we could have done it on Sunday and done the goodbye, because as it stands, it's going to be 10:15 on a school night in Easter Road, clearly for their families. They've got young families who would be on the pitch. It just felt as if someone by rote had said at the last game of the season we have to have this and the players will go around the pitch. I think there was the opportunity to do it after the Aberdeen game, where we could have had a much broader demographic for the younger people and easier for families and such like this. And they didn't have to put the last line on the thing on the website that says then you can buy your tickets at.
Aye. It was
I actually got a pop-up when I clicked the link to the web article that popped up trying to get me buying tickets. And I thought, that's a bit crass.
It was crash was the word that I saw sort of on a reply. I think it was Dave Graham's, and I kind of agreed with it as soon as I saw it. I was like, it's a pretty. But I think that sort of just reflects Hibs' priorities at the minute, doesn't it? Like the kind of misstep things like that, where like you say, John, maybe getting the reception for them on the Sunday rather than the Wednesday because there's more people there. Can make it a special day for the players and their families, and kind of bending over backwards, because there's players that leave and then there are players that leave, and these are definitely players that leave, you know, like that have been at the club a long time, given a lot for the club, and had a really good relationship connection with the fans. It just feels like a wee bit meh, I think, but maybe did too much into these things. Colin, you're probably, well, you're definitely closer to the women's game than I am. What were your thoughts when you saw Joelle's decision to also kind of hang up her boots?
I mean, I think she's a one club woman. She's played her whole career there. Time's right for her. Like, I mean, just at her age and that, just time to go. But you can't do it. I mean, I don't know how many cups she's won. Hundreds, like so. It was a good time. She had a good time at Hibs for her trophy haul. She's definitely in the women's side, the equivalent of those two, isn't she? So, aye, I'm actually going down tomorrow night. It's the women's derby tomorrow night at Meadowbank. But so I think, but last game's Rangers midweek, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday night. So that'll be her sort of farewell, I think.
I think that you'd definitely be looking at, you know, possibility of a kind of ambassadorial role for Joelle as well. She obviously kind of picks up the Hibs TV stuff as well, so I think she'll hopefully continue that
She does the Hibs
connection with
kids
the
and
club.
that now, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does all that. She obviously has that kind of really strong connection with the club and a really successful career. Right, we're kind of pushed for time now, so best of luck to Lewis and Paul and to Joelle, and thank you very much for the service over the years. Thanks, guys, for coming on the call tonight. Really appreciate your time. For the folk who have tuned in and dropped comments, thanks. You can get more content on our Patreon, where you get a 7-day free trial for our subscription. We've had a wee issue with our Hubwave feed recently, so if you've been waiting on episodes coming out, you can go onto the Hubwave site and pick them up. But the other subscription site, Patreon's working fine as well if you want to try that as well. Let's say you get 7 days free. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, that was a good chat. And just say hi to Daniel for me. I kept meaning to say hi when he
You're all
popped
right.
in.
Let's